Hey guys, and welcome back. I'm Seiben here for the Aether Hub, bringing you more Magic the Gathering lore. This week on the Hub, Paul from the PlaneswalkerProject is presenting an awesome commander deck featuring Ezuri, Claw of Progress. Now, I originally wanted to make a lore video that tied into this character, but I've already covered his story, which you can find either linked in the description or at the end of this video. So instead of reiterating myself, I'm going to explore what happened to Ezuri, his ultimate fate which changed him from a greedy freedom fighter of Mirrodin to a mindless servant of New Phyrexia. In today's video, let's discuss the completion process of the Phyrexians. Back on old Phyrexia, or just Phyrexia, these metal monstrosities were governed by their father of machines, a figure better known as Yawgmoth. A being consumed by rage and anger, Yawgmoth wanted one thing above all else: the total conquest and subjugation of Dominaria. I'm not gonna get deep into Yawgmoth's lore, cause that's just a whole other tale in and of itself. But let's just say he had mad beef with the plane and just couldn't kick it there anymore. So he left, started a machine-worshipping cult, and made Phyrexia. To prepare his new army for the big Dominaria smackdown, Yawgmoth ordered the creation of completed beings, those worthy to attack in his name. To Yawgmoth and the Phyrexians, flesh was seen as weak and frail, while metal was strong and everlasting. So for someone to become completed meant they became more like a machine than a mortal being. Exactly what would happen to Ezuri on New Phyrexia many years later, but I'm getting ahead of myself. On Phyrexia, the completion process begins in a large body of glistening oil found on the fifth sphere of the plane known as the Boiling Sea. Glistening oil, also known as Phyrexian oil or ichor, is the corrupting lifeblood of the Phyrexians, fueling their machines and creating their armies. It acts sort of like a virus, attacking flesh and corrupting mortals who come too close to the substance. Most weaker beings die from this contact. Others, however, evolve in a sense, and become bound to the will of Yawgmoth. This is what it means to be completed. From the Boiling Sea, the priests of this unholy campaign breed what are known as Newts, the earliest and most vulnerable stage of Phyrexian life. They appear as shapeless, hairless humans who live and train with the Phyrexians until adulthood, where they are then further completed and given a new shape in which to serve the Phyrexian cause. Most Newts eventually become minions, carriers, or horrors, just one of many in the Phyrexian ranks. Yet, some who show great skill and promise in battle are elevated to knights. While the others are basically mindless robacks acting out Yawgmoth's commands, knights retain their pre-completed human intelligence and are relatively free-willed, though none would ever go against their Lord Yawgmoth. While demons hold the closest audience to Yawgmoth, the knights, always loyal and disgusting, hold much of the prestige in battle. Newts can also forego the completion process altogether and become what are known as sleeper agents. Those beings who can look and act just as any other human, but who still side with Phyrexia and their master. These sleeper agents often serve as spies and assassins, infiltrating planes of potential conquest in order to gather intel or sow the seeds of hysteria. There's one other group of Phyrexians I wanted to talk about, but I'm not even sure if they're a result of the completion process or just like little minions the Phyrexians cooked up themselves, but either way, it's these things known as Gremlins. Gremlins are some of the lowest forms of life within these monstrous ranks. They're small, worthless creatures fit only for menial labor, yet they do possess the ability to rip and tear apart metal artifacts, much like more recent gremlins we've seen on Kaladesh. But I'm sure they're not connected, right? Crazy tin hat theories aside, that's basically how the completion process for Phyrexia works. No matter what the subject is transformed into, it all goes back to the application of this glistening oil followed by the subject's corruption of purpose. Whoever survives this process doesn't survive wholly. They come out of it a very, very different person. Which leads us to the plane of Mirrodin, which would eventually become known as New Phyrexia. Here, the completion process takes on a different, more subtle feel. It all goes back to the plane's creator, the artificial planeswalker Karn. Unbeknownst to him, he carried drops of the glistening oil inside his own heart, a gift given to him by a Phyrexian sleeper agent. So Karn goes and makes his shiny new plane with a bunch of shiny new toys, and drips black goo on everything. We all know what that means. Soon, Karn's guardian golem of the plane, Memnarch, picks up some of the ichor and goes mad, trying to take over the world and become a planeswalker. He sucks up a bunch of native mortal life from various planes and sticks them on Mirrodin, who unfortunately get attacked by yet another corrupting factor, the Mycothants. Emboldened by the presence of the glistening oil, this strange artificial fungus unleashed its spores on the captured citizens of Mirrodin, cursing their flesh with scars of metal and tainting metal beings with flesh and life. Mirrodin was now a world covered by creatures not all flesh, but not all machine. Something in between. An environment perfect for the spread of the glistening oil. We all know how the story goes from here. The oil spreads and new Phyrexia rises. But it's not as collective as it used to be under Yawgmoth. The Praetors became conflicted and splintered off into different groups, and luckily Karn is saved before he becomes the new father of machines. Out of these 5 splinter groups, it's the blue-aligned Phyrexians, known as the Process Engine, that stays true to the way of the completion. Under their Praetor leader, Jin Gitaxius, the Progress Engine continuously evolves those of New Phyrexia, hoping to complete the entire plane. One such unlucky soul being Ezuri, now known as the Claw of Progress, a mindless brute fit to serve the Progress Engine. And that, guys, is just a small summary of the Phyrexians and their completion process, both old and new. Remember, you can check out the full lore video for Ezuri linked at the end of this video or in the description below. While you're completing the rest of his story, consider checking out the Planeswalker Project's EDH deck featuring Ezuri Claw of Progress himself. Again, you can find that video at the end of this one or in the description below. As always, guys, if you enjoyed the video and want to support the Aether Hub here on YouTube, consider throwing the video a like, sharing it with friends, and subscribing for more awesome MTG content. In any case, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time here on the Aether Hub.